Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I'm Ashdin Doctor, your habit coach, and today we have a very special guest. Now, this is part 2 of the podcast where we were talking about how he has finished 100 podcast episodes and he's just 11. So we are talking to Samarth, and I would suggest you listen to part 1 before you come and listen to this episode. Enjoy. Okay, so you're looking at going to Osaka, Kyoto.
And then Nara. It's
You want to play with little deers?
Yeah.
Oh, they're very cute.
Right.
They will eat your clothes, so be careful.
No.
So Nara is this beautiful temple ground where there are deer just roaming around. So the deer come up to you, you pat the deer, you sit next to the deer. It's really funny. What else do you know about Nara?
Nara is also in Okinawa. It's the capital of the region. And Okinawa is known for its beaches. And it goes very south. It goes, like, some of the islands extend towards Taiwan as well.
Correct. It's also where karate started, right? Karate started where?
Yeah,
Okinawa. I think so.
And also I'm learning Japanese online too. And in one of the classes, I was really interested. So I got this printout of Japan, all the different prefectures, which are essentially the states. So I asked my teacher, what is each prefecture famous for? And he was like, this one's famous for rice, this one's famous for tangerines. And by that time, I knew where to go, where not to go. But I'm also looking forward to go to Hokkaido. But maybe not in summer.
So what you have to do is you have to go through the rural parts of Japan. They're absolutely pretty, and you have to do the Alps. So we don't realize this, but Japan has an amazing set of mountain ranges, which are like the Alps, the Swiss Alps. And they have ski resorts and stuff like that out there. Absolutely brilliant. I found all of that far more exciting than going to Tokyo. So like I was telling you before the podcast started, Tokyo felt like you were in the middle of New York, Paris, and Bombay's Churchgate railway station. So it was just so packed with people in fancy clothes, which is where Paris comes in from, with the bright lights of New York. So it was just one complete kitchery of all these things.
Especially if you go to Shibuya.
Oh God, that
Shibuya,
one.
People are everywhere. And then Shibuya station is just something that I really am excited to visit.
Yeah, it's the world's largest people crossing at any point of time. Amazing. So Japan is something that always caught your fancy when it comes to this. Now tell me something. How do you make time for all these activities? That means you must be flunking school left, right and center, right? You must be failing every single exam.
Actually, okay. You might be surprised.
No, don't tell me that you're getting you're topping all the exams.
No, we don't have exams. Yeah.
Lucky.
I know. But it starts next year.
Okay.
Because now I'm in 5th. They start from 6th.
So how do you manage school and everything and all of these things that you enjoy doing?
Each day I have school. Morning I wake up, and sometimes if I can't do homework or I don't want to do it in the evening, which happens a lot, I wake up early in the morning. My mom wakes me up, but I'm like, no. But still I wake up and I do my homework, which is generally maths.
So at least that part is like, you don't feel like waking up in the morning. It's it's a pain waking you up.
Yeah.
Okay. It's water splashed on you. What is done?
No.
Are threats made?
No, I'm just like, eventually I get up and I just go slugging to my room, and I'm like, go slugging to the bathroom.
That's it.
I have to wash my face and brush my teeth.
So in fact, that's one entire episode of the Habit Coach podcast. People who have this habit of constantly snoozing the alarm clock. You wake up, keep the alarm in the toilet. So you're in the bathroom to switch off the alarm, and you go splash water on your face. So you wake up after that. Cold water on your face wakes you up. All right. So now your morning routine is you wake up. Sometimes you finish your homework if you're...
Yeah, if I didn't do it in the evening. But it's generally maths that I do in the morning. And I go to the bathroom, freshen up, take a shower, change into my uniform, go downstairs, eat breakfast. And before that, I always pack my bag the night before. And from there, I cycle to the bus stop. And then my school day continues. And by the time I come back home, I also freshen up after school once again. And by the time I come down, my helper, she puts a snack. So I eat it. And then I play with my Jenga blocks, which I love to do. And sometimes I write for my book. And some days also, I keep working on the podcast a little here and there.
This is the researching part that you do.
Yes. And as well as that, after that, I have some classes. Again, they start at like 5:30, all of them. I have basketball some days, then I have some math tuition. And I do those, come back home. And before that, I go to play. And after that as well, I come back home and play for some more time. And after that, do my homework, eat dinner, read for like half an hour, 45 minutes before I sleep, and then go to sleep, and then continues.
So the thing is that you manage to pack all of this in your day, and you have enough time for fun and all the other things in it as well. Okay, so it's not that you're only doing... And I don't think this is actually work for you, right? All of this, doing researching, writing, it's all part of fun.
Yeah, it's all fun.
How do you feel when you're doing it?
I feel like, I feel like good. I feel that I'm doing something that I like, and I'm doing something that will help me as well in many aspects. So I'm like, okay, there's nothing bad. It's nothing like horrible that I'm doing this. It's not a sin.
It's not forced to do it.
Yeah, and it's something that I love to do. So I'm like, I'll do it.
Amazing. How do you decide on all the podcast episodes? Like, remember in the start of the show, I was saying that many people wanted to start doing episodes and they would run out of topics, or they would lose interest in it. So how do you choose topics, and how do you maintain your interest in the podcast?
So I have these different set of segments, or I had, because now I've changed, and I'll get to that a little
All right,
later.
fantastic.
So I had these 5-6 segments. They included travel, which is one country, 10 amazing things. My dog Yuki, which is pet care. Bookworm, which is book reviews. Tried and tested, which is normal reviews about, places and all. And then I'd have Mythbusters.
Places and all, as in like restaurants or like temples? Like
restaurants, temples, all of them.
Okay.
And also like sometimes, I think I did one Cubbon Park, Lal Bagh, all of them in Bangalore. And last, Mythbusters, which is... where I bust some common myths, like the fact that the sun is yellow. And I also have Subhashita, which is Indian shlokas that can help you positively.
Tell me some. Do you remember them any offhand?
I remember a few lines, like in the beginning.
Sure.
It's like, Karmanye Adhikaraste. I don't remember the rest, but my grandmom teaches me these shlokas. They're like... in Telugu or Sanskrit.
And what do they mean?
So this one, I'll tell you one. Uppu kappurambu oka polika chudu 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 ruchulu jada veru purushulandu punya purushula veraya visvadabi rama vinuravema.
So you just basically made lots of sounds, because I can't validate or not validate any of these things. Okay, but I just said, what does it mean?
So it means Uppu is salt, and Karpurambu is the camphor that you do puja with. So they're like salt and camphor. They look very similar, but they taste different. So it's Uppu Kapurambu Okapolekachudu, which means they look alike. Jadaveru, their taste is different. Purshulandu Punyaveraya, so it's like, all people look alike from the outside, but inside, each person has different thoughts, each person thinks differently. Some are, doing good, some are doing evil. And in the end, it says that the Vinuravema part, it's the person who composed this. It's Visvadabi Rama Vinuravema, so it's the person who composed this poem.
So his name?
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. So it is about the qualities of this particular person versus that particular person that you're getting into. Very interesting. Do you have one more that you can share? Like, I found this very exciting.
Okay.
You don't have to tell me the...
I'm thinking.
You can tell me the translation part of it.
Okay.
Like, what was the aha moment? What was the learning from it?
I'll say it too, maybe, so because then I can translate it.
All right.
So it's Gangi Govu Palu, Garata Daina Chalu, Kadavadaina Nemi Karamu Palu, and then something, and then Viswadami Rama Vinuravema. So the first part is the cow's milk is pure, that even 1 spoon of it is enough. But then the goat's milk is like, even if you drink, jugs and jugs of it, it won't be enough for your body. And then the lesson from it, it's like, you should... I forgot the other part. But yeah.
So basically, this was a culinary shloka that was there.
And then it has some lesson associated with it, but I forgot now.
Okay. All right. Lovely. So then you have the shloka segment as well.
Yes.
All right. So this is what you had originally planned, and you would find episodes for each of these particular kinds of segments. And one episode a week?
Yes. It's a weekly podcast, so one episode per week.
Have you missed a week?
Yes, sometimes. So between seasons, I take these breaks.
Okay.
So then, I plan those seasons accordingly that the breaks come when I'm on the holidays. So like when I go somewhere outside, then I have to miss it because it will be... So then, even though I enjoy it, so I can also focus on the vacation and also everything else there.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think it's... So we take great pride in the fact that we've missed one episode so far.
Oh.
Yeah, so it is one episode that we missed out so far, and I think it was only because India had a 5-day holiday or something like that, and IBM wanted to take a break. So I think the engineers deserved it.
Okay, yeah.
So tell me, what was the change that you're making now? You said this was something that you're doing earlier. What is the new format?
So new format is a lot of my listeners, a lot of my friends, they kept telling me that their favorite segment is One Country, 10 Amazing Things, which is my travel segment. So I decided to fully incorporate that into my podcast and make it just travel. So not just travel, actually. So I'm just coming to that. So essentially what it is each week I talk about one different place or one different country. And then I talk about 5 different aspects. So one is history, one is culture, one is the cuisine, one is the geography and some facts. But the most important and one of my favorites is that, one problem that the people there, they face, and how we can also, raise awareness, or how we can be aware of that problem and take action. So each week I do this change.org petition about that country. So my first episode of this new kind of format is about Trinidad and Tobago, because I didn't know which country to start off with, and I have this flag chart on the wall, so I just randomly poked my finger and I asked my mother to tell me stop, and it landed on Trinidad and Tobago. So I was like, why not? All
right, I think that's a great randomized way of doing this. All right, interesting. So Trinidad and Tobago will be the first one of this format that you've got. It's your 99th episode.
Yes.
And your 100th episode is?
100th episode is going to be like, I'm planning to do like a recap and very short parts of each of the segments that I have done so far, including the newest one, to show how the podcast has transitioned from the beginning to how it is now.
Okay, so the history of the podcast
essentially,
and all of that. Tell me something, this is something that many content creators face. You're a content creator now.
Yes.
How do you deal with, putting yourself out there? Because there's this whole thing about, I'm going to put my work out there for the world and the public to see. And is it nerve-wracking? Is it scary? Do you wonder about what people are going to think about it? Are they going to judge it? Are they going to criticize it? Like, how do you think about all of that?
Well, if I'm being honest, at the beginning, I was like, maybe, I'm a little nervous. People may not like it. People may not appreciate it. But now that I've done a lot of episodes, 100, so I realized that it doesn't matter what others think. It matters how much effort you put in, and if you think that you have done your best. And as long as you think so, it doesn't matter. Others' opinion doesn't matter. Because you think that you have done the best, and you think that this is the best of your capabilities, then you don't need to be worried about being judged or anything.
But have you faced any criticism or anything like that? Has anybody said anything ever?
Not necessarily. But yeah, I got positive feedback, which I acted on and improved.
Okay, so it was feedback that you took on board, you tweaked things around. What are some of the most impactful feedback that you got?
So some of my most impactful feedback, they said that, actually, in the beginning, I was quite slow when I was talking. And then these days, I'm very fast when I'm talking, like blah, 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 blah. Well, not that fast, but like maybe a little slower.
Like the way that you're talking right now?
Yeah, but actually a little faster than this. But then, I got the feedback, I should talk a little slower so my audience understands. And now I'm practicing consciously to speak more slower. So even now here, I'm trying to speak slower than I usually do.
And are all your episodes scripted? As in, do you have a script that you read from?
I have the script that I read from. So each week I create the script. It'll take about an hour and a half, because all
to
the
write
research,
the script?
Yes, all the research, all of that, I sit, I do it, and I write the script.
So you research, including research, 1 hour?
Including research, 1.5, 2, maybe.
Okay.
At max 2, if it's like long episodes. And the Trinidad
What is
and
your
Tobago
definition
one,
of long episode?
it's like, some of them I did 15, 16 minutes.
Okay.
And the Trinidad and Tobago one, even though it's quite short, I had to do a thorough amount of research, because I needed to provide the right factual information, and I needed to provide a lot about different aspects of it. And recording takes 15 minutes, half an hour.
Do you take lots of retakes and takes and retakes and takes?
Yes. So especially I'm like, saying something, but then I go really fast. And then I'm like, no, my audience won't understand. Sometimes my mom is sitting there. She's like, retake that part, go a little slower when you say it. And sometimes there are these long words, and I fumble up when I'm saying them. So a lot of retakes that happen.
Okay, so the retaking is part of the entire podcast episode.
Yeah.
So lovely. 100 has happened.
Yes.
Where are you heading next? What are the things that are exciting you right now?
Like I mentioned, the new format is really exciting to me, because I love countries, I love traveling. And
these you're not putting up on YouTube. These are only on podcasting platforms?
They're only on podcasting platforms, but maybe, after a little more episodes, 10, 15 more episodes, maybe I'm considering putting it up on YouTube so that they can also watch. But my whole idea when I was starting the podcast is that kids these days, a lot of kids, including my friends, they love to watch content about all these different things, all these different books, about different countries and all of them. But that's really bad for their eyes, because, you're constantly on the screen because of your homework these days. And especially when I started online school, you're on the screen for most of your day. And that's why I realized I want to do this so people can listen, and they don't, have to strain their eyes. They can listen when they're sleeping anytime. And it'll be easy, and it'll be good, and it'll be good for them as well.
I think that's the beauty of the podcast, right? You can listen to it anywhere, in the car, when you're going from one place to another. Do you and your parents still listen to podcasts together?
Yes, we do. Like whenever we're going on road trips.
What are your favorite podcasts to listen to?
So I like this podcast called Greeking Out.
Mm-hmm.
It's about Greek mythology. And
I love Greek mythology.
Yeah, right?
So interesting.
Really interesting. And each week they create like these stories that it's a Nat Geo podcast for kids. So they create these stories.
It's a podcast for kids.
Yes.
Okay.
So they create these the stories from the original, like Pandora's Box. They create it into something that something mysterious, and they built up more on the story plot. And I really like that. I was like, this just gives me more in-depth a more in-depth perspective of the story. I also like But Why, which is the podcast by the Vermont Public Radio. And I think that it's, even adults, my parents, they like to listen to it too sometimes, because it's things that, things that you want answers to. You're like, well, why does this happen? Because when I ask my mom something, this, and I'm like, but why does this happen? But why? And it goes on to that loop. So I think it answers the questions that are really relevant quite well.
Amazing. And what other podcasts?
Yeah.
You're missing one very important one.
Ooh.
Which one? The Habit Coach podcast.
Yeah. I was just kidding.
All right. So you don't have to say it, but yeah, you have to say it. Habit Coach podcast.
The Habit Coach podcast.
There you go. It's fantastic. All right. So now, next, do you have an end goal? How many episodes do you want to podcast?
I don't have an end goal yet.
4,000?
4,000.
4,000?
1,000.
1,000?
1,000 is like a lot, but maybe I'll want to see.
1 million. No. All right.
But yeah, I'm thinking, I don't know, but I don't have an end goal. I just want to do it for however long that.
And I love the way that you're evolving through it, right? Each of these episodes has changed in format, in the way that you're looking at it. That means, in a few words, what is the kind of person that should be listening to your episode, right? Like right now, the people listening to this episode, there will be parents, there will be kids, there will be all sorts of people listening to this. What kind of people should come and listen to your episodes?
I think that kids, a lot of kids, of course, because my main target audience is children. And in that, I think a very broad range. Because before, I have a lot of different segments. But nowadays, recently, I'd say because my new format has come, I think kids who are interested in travel and people who are, they have enough, put out some times for their podcast. So in fact, me and my mom, when we were deciding, my parents, when we were deciding how the new podcast format should be, my mom said, why don't you define how your target listener should be? And then I created this person, she's my age and she has a phone. She spends 15 minutes per day on a podcast. And some of the apps she uses, they're like Netflix, YouTube, all of them. So essentially, the ideal person would be someone who's interested in travel and someone who spends time on podcasts, someone who does have access to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. And also someone who likes to learn, someone who likes to take change as well.
Lovely. Do you have any final words that you want to say to the listeners right now? Anything that you want to leave them with? Should everyone start a podcast?
Well, it's actually, you can express, however, you can show whatever you're learning in many different ways. But I chose podcasting and I chose also writing because writing is something that I love. So I think to the listeners now, the final message, you can express yourself however you want to, in whatever format, it doesn't matter. And most importantly, when you should always do what you think, the best version of yourself is. Always aim for that, and, don't think about any other negative comments. Don't think if people are like, oh no, you're so bad. Just filter those out. As long as you're doing your best, it's wonderful.
Amazing. What is the name of the podcast? Where can people find it? Where can people reach out to you?
So the name of the podcast is Kidacity, Learn, Take
Spell
Action.
it.
So it's KIDACITY. And you can find it on the podcast apps like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And you can reach out to me on samarth.chitta@gmail.com, which is samarth.chitta@gmail.com. And you can check out my Instagram and Twitter @Samarth Chitta.
All right. Perfect. Lovely. Thank you so much for coming on the Habit Coach and spending time with me.
Thank you so much for having me here.
My pleasure. Absolutely. And I can't wait to have you back here for episode 200.
Wonderful.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Finally, do you want to say something in Japanese to end this podcast?
Arigatou gozaimashita.
Arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you.